What's up everybody, Ratchet David here for another video, and today I'm excited. I'm installing the Woodcraft clip-ons. This is obviously the factory handlebars on my 2017 FZ09. I'm going to be installing the Woodcraft clip-ons here onto it. My bike will mainly be used for performance riding and track days this year, and I figured I would go ahead and do that. So I bought this used from a guy, but it's a complete kit, never been used before, just installed. So get rid of that. Got the 12-inch long handlebars, and place those that way. The actual centerpiece here, and then instructions and a couple other bolts and brackets here, and somewhat gonna go step by step, and then just kind of show the different riding positions it has here. The 2-inch riser up is a 1-inch drop, 1-inch riser up is 2-inch drop, and 1-inch riser down is a 3-inch drop. And from what I understand, the 3-inch drop is more of a track only type of setup, and that I might want to do either the 2-inch riser up or the 1-inch riser up with the 2-inch drop, which I'll probably do the 2-inch drop, because the goal is to actually get the handlebars. I don't like the factory, how high they are up, and I want something a little more sport bike related. But either way, the first step of the instructions says to remove everything off of the factory handlebars. So we're going to do that, starting with the levers, the grips, throttle, everything will come off. We'll unbolt the handlebars, and then we'll start by putting everything back together. First thing to remove, the bar ends on each side, just a hex. They're threaded, they're easy to take off. Next thing I was working on was the clutch cable. Easy enough. You just need to rotate this cable adjuster in to loosen up the cable, and then all you do is detach it from the actual lever itself, and the cable will sit. And from what I understand and what I was reading is that the cable will bind if you leave it in the factory location that it comes out of, and so you need to relocate it just a little bit because the bars are going to be closer down here. You don't want any binds or pinches in the cable itself, so when you lower the handlebars, what's going to happen is that it's not going to go up here anymore, because to try to rotate it back down, it's going to get pinched. So I just move it out of the way and try to get creative to locate it in a way that it won't bind up when you put the new bars on. The grips are a little bit more complicated. Not really, but they have an adhesive on the inner side of the grip, so that obviously it won't move once it's in place. I'm kind of putting a screwdriver up there and getting it in between the bar and the grip, and kind of break and loose some of the adhesive. Once you do that, the whole thing will rotate, and then you can kind of pull it off the handlebar. So it's really not too bad, but it's just something that takes time. I don't want to damage it because I like the factory grips. All right, so the left hand side is loose. All it is 2 little Phillips to loosen this up, and then I'm gonna, once the bars are loose, I'm gonna actually remove these. This was just a little 5/16 bolt, and that's loose, and it was a little tiny connector. Undid that, and all of that on this side is done. The grip came off just fine. So I'm going to move on to this side, just a couple hexes. Everything will be undone, and then you also have the throttle cable, which will need to come undone as well, and then we'll be ready to work on installing the Woodcraft stuff. All right, so everything is off the factory bars. All that is left for me to do is take off these caps and remove the bars. Everything was super easy. Everything is designed to come off of the bars. Everything splits in half. Throttle cable, brake lever, controls for the kill switch. Everything is designed to come in half and pop off the bars. I would suggest having a small little Phillips screwdriver, something that you would use on electronics. That way that it fit perfect for these. So everything was super easy. So the next thing we have to do is find the tool that I had the hex for these caps. I have an H6. There we go. Hex wrench, and it's a perfect fit for these. And I'm going to take these off. I'm going to take a quick picture of the factory bars, a couple of them, and add them to the video of the height and everything. And then with the Woodcraft stuff on, I'll do an after picture to kind of give some, like, that angle to show you the amount of drop it has. Just like that, the bars are removed. There we are. So now I'm going to start. I'm going to read the instructions again, which I believe once you have the factory bars off, step 2 is use the supplied mounting bolts to secure the Woodcraft adapter plate on the OEM handlebar base unit. So, there are 4 supplied bolts here in the Woodcraft adapter unit that is going to go right here. And then we will see what's next. All right, so according to the instructions, this position, this base adapter plate flips both ways. And right now, I have the riser down position. According to the instructions, the down position, the only 1-inch riser down is a 3-inch drop. So right now I'm installing at the lowest position. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to try to turn the handlebars before I do any installation, aside from just test fitting everything to see if it's going to hit the tank, because according to some people that I've heard, it does hit the tank. So I'm going to try the down position, which should be the lowest position. All right, so with the 1-inch down position, this should be a 3-inch drop. At full lock, it does not hit the tank. Now, that's not with a grip on it. I'm not saying with a grip on it, it's not going to hit, or with other electronics. But you can come back this way completely. And there's other stuff blocking it. But according to this, this should be the lowest position. And then there compared to stock, and I'll have a before and after picture that's substantially lower, just as a comparison. If we were at the stock bar position, plus or minus, all right, more of a reference. So I would say that's solid 3 inches. And that's according to the instructions here. Down position. And then there's the up position, in which I'll flip it over. And there's a plate. But I'm going to try it at this 3-inch down. I might flip it over just to make sure that I have all my measurements right and I'm not backwards and upside down and all that. But I'll flip it over. I'll flip the plate over and see what it looks like according to the instructions. This would be the up position, where these risers are facing upwards. This is another view. It's definitely higher, so I'm definitely going to go with the lower position because it still doesn't hit. And that's kind of what I was going for. And just as a reference, it's not an exact, obviously, but the difference is within an inch, maybe. So I'm going to go with the lowest position because that was the whole point of getting the bars. So that's what we're going to do. I'll have some pictures of all the different levels for you. Little update is I got the passenger side on and everything in position the way I like it. All I did was pull the brake, or the clutch cable, excuse me, out from in between the headlight and the ignition switch here, and just left it open like this, and I have 0 issues. I've tested it and placed the mirror where I like it and angled everything the way the new handlebars should be. So far, I love it. The drop is really nice. I've sat on it. Much easier to tuck when your hands are 3 inches farther away from you. So far so good. One thing I am noticing is the brake line. The way it comes up in front of the gauge cluster there, trying to get it in place on the handlebars with the angle that they're at, instead of this light angle like that, it's such a more aggressive angle that I'm seeing the brake line pinch there. So I think I'm gonna have to separate it and run it outside of here in order to allow it plenty of room. So all I'm gonna do is just peel back the headlight a little bit and pull the line through. I really don't want to, I can undo the braking system, but I'd rather not. So I'm just gonna undo the headlight assembly a little bit and pull the brake line through on the other side of it. And that way there won't be any pinching. As far as the throttle cables go, I don't feel like I'm gonna have any issues. So I'm gonna try that. I might be pulling those through the other side of the headlight assembly as well, just to avoid any further issues with pinching of lines. Alrighty, well, I got everything installed. Not too bad. The last probably 45 minutes to an hour, I've been working on just the right hand side, getting what I'm really having trouble with is the throttle cables. They're sticking a little bit, so I'm trying to figure out where the cables are binding and where I can kind of get that figured out. Everything else is good. What I ended up doing is just pulling the top part of the headlight back, and getting the cables coming from underneath here to over top of here for the throttle cables. The brake line also came out from over top and now came underneath, and I kind of pulled it through a little bit, and I adjusted the angle from that way to down instead. So all the way to the right. Now it's almost facing all the way down, probably right in the middle, as you can see. That way there's nothing binding about the brakes. The throttle cables are now going over top of the brake lever. So it doesn't look messy, but at the same time, I still don't know where the throttle cable is binding. It's starting to come back a little bit better than it was, but as you can see, it's still binding up somewhere, and I'm wondering if I just need to grease up the inside. These cables were very greasy, and I'm thinking about taking this back off. I'm gonna have to, and figure out how I can make this not bind and how I can get this to return without any issues. As far as one quick final update, after the fact, I worked on it a little bit longer, and the best thing to do was to move the dash here to the center away from this, because it actually ended up hitting the master cylinder for the brakes. And the throttle cleaned up just fine. What I did is I put some grease on the handlebars underneath this, on the cables, but ultimately adjusting the throttle cable here, it was binding right at the adjustment here, so I loosened it up, and it perfect. I've been riding it for an hour and it's just been perfect, just like factory. So everything is exactly the way I want it to be now. I've been riding it, getting on it, going through corners, and it's perfect, and I love it. And so that's the way it's going to be. The only downside to putting the cluster in the middle is that the key is underneath it, but small price to pay for overall just amazing product and everything. And that's not sponsored. I just been riding around with it. I love it, and it really brought back when I started on R6s and everything, just the feel of the sport bike, but with the comfortable riding position of the hyper naked bike. Overall, love it. Thanks for watching, guys.